Okay, so before I get started, I want to acknowledge the fact that all of these generational labels are dumb and fake. They are arbitrary groupings designed by corporations to stratify us into consumer demographics to sell us more stuff. It's like a sports team. It's a purely social construct. And also like a sports team, I will murk anybody who talks smack about my team. Gen Z for life, baby! Welcome back to the light side of the internet. It seems like no matter what group you happen to be in, there's always gonna be a pick-me in our midst. It happened with pick-me girls, it happened with pick-me boys, it even happened to pick-me me because I never got picked for anyone's dodgeball team. I won't lie. It does feel nice to get picked sometimes. But there are some creators and grifters out there who have made it a core piece of their personality to go, I don't follow Gen Z stereotypes. Even though I might just be as attention starved as the rest of them, I'm seeking attention by trying to appease the very same people who made those stereotypes. Wow, you're so much better than I wish my child was like you. You're one of the good ones. It's just not a good look. And quite frankly, I don't think anyone cares what their point of view is on their own generation. Except me. I care. I care a lot.
Here's everything I hate about the Gen Z generation. Everyone in Gen Z seems to think that there's this magical shortcut that can help them escape the 9 to 5. The truth is, it's there. It's just only there for like 0.01% of people. And I'm willing to bet that there's a very large percentage of Gen Z that will spend their entire life chasing that, rather than go get a real job. And that really bothers me because the $75,000 that I paid in taxes last year, it's gonna need to go to them on the street soon.
I have a dream. I have a dream too. Me too. Me three. Yeah, pick me. I have a dream. Nobody cares about your dream. This is my dream. Go get a job or something. You know, of all the takes that I've heard bashing on Gen Z, I think stop following your dreams has to be the dumbest one out there. And the humble brag he added in at the end is like the moldy cherry on top of a 13-day-old unrefrigerated fruitcake.
People in Gen Z feel like they need to have a strong opinion on everything. If they ask you for your opinion and you say you don't know, you don't care, or it's a very mild opinion, they'll start hating on you, no matter what side they're on.
That's like your opinion, man. One of your several hundred strong opinions. What are we doing here, dude? Like, are we collecting iron? Is that what we're doing here? Are we going down into the mines and collecting iron? Because this is just straight iron. Look, I get it. I mean, not really, but like when you really reinterpret it, I kind of get it. I do believe that people's opinions on subject matters have gotten stronger over time. And a lot of that has to do with social media and algorithmic radicalization. But that's not something unique to Gen Z. I mean, have you been on Facebook recently? Have you seen what your friends' moms are posting? But when it comes to Gen Z pick-me's, these are not the most problematic. He's just some random dude spewing his opinions online. Trust me, I can relate with that. The real problem is when certain characters weaponize their hatred of their own generation for their own gain.
It is genuinely disgusting to watch my generation be so entitled.
So I ordered the 2024 Maybach. Check your phone. It's coming in November.
This is Iman Gadzi, and if you don't know about him, he's a grifter who made millions off of his young and impressionable Gen Z audience. Then after he ran away with his millions that he made off of his young, impressionable Gen Z audience, he looked right into the faces of the previously mentioned young, impressionable Gen Z audience and said, you guys are lazy, you guys are entitled, and you guys are disgusting. And the Gen Z kids ate it the f up. Great words, diamond. I have all Iman Gadzi course. Oh, f. Oh, f, we're so cooked.
They want a Rolls Royce, but they won't even go for a run. They want a Ferrari, but they can't even sit and focus. And they want a private jet, but they won't even take the time to sit and pray.
They want a Rolls Royce, but they won't even go for a run. Why do you think I'm buying the Rolls Royce? I am not a runner. I am a passenger princess. Look, if you unpeel all the guru bullshit, he's basically trying to say that Gen Z doesn't want to work but wants everything. And for reasons that I went over in my last video, I don't agree with that. Every single generation at one point has been called lazy and entitled, despite the fact that every generation from baby boomers onwards have faced increasingly difficult economic conditions. Whereas before, someone could work as a milk delivery man and support a family of 4 and buy a house, nowadays you need a full working family of 4 to afford a house, and you can't even be a milk delivery man anymore. So I'm just curious, does Iman know what that struggle is like?
After a couple years of dating, my stepdad and my mom moved to London, and we ended up living on the street in his house. But my house was not a home. My house was not a place that I was particularly happy at.
Damn, okay. That does sound tough, you know, granted. Where'd you go to school?
I call my stepdad my dad because I guess he's the only dad I've ever had. So he put me into private school.
All right, not really giving off working class vibes. But you know what? It's only private school. It's not like it was boarding school. Can't be that expensive.
I went to a place called South Bank International School, which as far as I know is the most expensive non-boarding private school in the world.
Guys, I'm starting to think he's not like us.
I grew up in Chelsea, SW7, in a house that had been bought 20 years prior, never renovated.
If you're not familiar with SW7, SW7 is a postcode district that represents South Kensington and Chelsea. But that's not the important detail here. The important detail here is that SW7 consistently ranks within the top 10 richest postcode districts in the United Kingdom out of 2,979 other postcode districts. So not only is Iman Gadzhi part of the 1% of the United Kingdom, he is actually quite literally raised as damn close to part of the 0.01%. And you're calling us entitled? Motherfucker, you were born so rich that you probably have a title. This is the same as someone who was born and raised in the Hamptons complaining that nobody wants to work anymore while driving her dad's G-Wagon. Ugh, I asked for almond milk, not soy. It's like nobody wants to work these days. Miss, this is my second job.
First principle you need to learn if you want to be a millionaire in your teens or your early 20s is that in order to be a king, you must first be a pawn. You have no option. You learn respect and you learn the pecking order. And I learned from a young age that you respect your elder. And I learned what it was like to work with clients and, quite frankly, for lack of a better word, be their little bitch boy.
In order to become a millionaire, you must lick the boot. The boot is your friend. Praise the boot. Pet the boot. F the boot. You heard me. I mean, it almost seems satirical for someone like that to tell the rest of us to work harder and respect authority when he is the child of that authority. And look, I'm not doubting Iman Gadzhi's success. He's clearly successful enough to maintain a very lavish lifestyle. I'm doubting what he's successful at. I'm not gonna go into detail about how he made his money because there are plenty of videos like this one, and this one that go into much more granular detail that I ever would care to know. But here's a quick SparkNote summary. He bought bots to make it look like he had a massive Instagram following, which allowed him to pose as someone far more successful than they actually were in order to dupe hundreds of thousands of young impressionable Gen Z kids into buying his course and worshiping him. And when he had the trust and money of all of these kids, he then launched a crypto NFT pump and dump in order to squeeze even more money out of his Gen Z audience. Do you know what I hate about Gen Z? That we're gullible enough to fall for this. And I know what you're gonna say. Ray, that's victim blaming. First of all, yes. Yes, it is. Didn't every single story growing up teach us to avoid people like this? Coercing little kids, seems to exist in a dark environment, has a broom in the back, could be a witch, probably a witch. And second off, I don't like his victims because they go on to make their own podcasts and share their own horrible, terrible takes on their own generation.
This generation mentally, they're quite weak. The amount of mental strength people have is quite low. Our parents and stuff, they had a lot of shit to get through. I feel like now a lot of people are just being cushioned at home.
Yeah. You have these kids that just have
really spoiled and they have no backbone.
They don't have any sense of doing things for themselves.
I must say, good sir, I find that the present generation, rather regrettably, appears to be somewhat deficient in fortitude of mind. Yeah, can we pause for a second? Cool. Mom? Yeah, the microphone you got me? It's too close to my face. Yeah, can you come and like move it? This really just seems like another one of those situations where someone in clearly a loftier socioeconomic class talks down on the rest of us brokies. What working class high schooler wears a quarter zip and has their own podcast equipment? Forget being fed from a silver spoon. This guy was fed from a golden ladle.
Joe Rogan didn't make this quote. He kind of made it very popular. It's like, hard times create hard men.
Yeah.
Hard men.
I'm not even gonna lie here. I put these clips in because I think these guys are unironically hilarious. And I know that they're like maybe 16 and just trying to get into podcasting. But the conversations that they have make it seem like they're just meat sacks gaining consciousness for the first time.
There's a place where you can go. There's so much value and free stuff for free.
Yeah.
And that's called the library. So much knowledge and so much information.
We have so much like access. Our phones, this is like one of the most sophisticated pieces of technology.
15 years ago, we've been the pinnacle of technology.
Exactly. And it still has such like value. Like I could learn basically anything on this one tiny object.
These are the exact same conversations that I mean, someone would have on psychedelics. Clothes, dude? Crazy. If you really think about it, it's like if I had fur, but I could take it off. The value that you can get from a doorknob? Wild, bro. It's like a portal to another dimension. Do we ever really find ourselves? Or do we just constantly misplace ourselves? Whoa. And let me just repeat for the YouTube algorithm, I do not condone drug use. So don't ask me how I know all of that. I do, however, want what they're on. But these guys are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to this new wave of Gen Z pygmies. And the one thing that I do agree with our critics on is that social media is the single most catastrophic thing to happen to our generation.
What I'm about to go over in this video is the downfall of my generation. And it's not gonna be what you think. It's not gonna be social media addiction, phone addiction.
Okay, whoa. Me, I guess I'm wrong. Do enlighten us, please.
It's the fact that 88% of young adults struggle with financial planning. This is mind-blowing to me. Coming from someone that has budgeted, since I was 13 years old. This was just something in the cards. This was something that I've always done.
So this is one of those situations that I both agree with him and I don't agree with him. On one side of the coin, I do believe that financial planning should be taught to kids at a very young age because it is critical for us to start investing early so that, we don't have to work until we're unalived. On the other side of the coin though, there's not really a point to financial planning when rent, groceries, and a car payment is the plan. That's like telling someone who lives in a town with one street to use Google Maps to try to get to the closest coffee shop. Hey Siri, can you give me directions to Starbucks?
In half a mile, your destination will be on the right. Just like yesterday. And the day before. You f***ing idiot.
But I do understand what he's saying. And if you ever do have any questions about financial planning, you should check out these resources. Don't worry, this is not a sponsor. So at least I agree with his sentiment. Unlike this next guy.
This generation is the mental weakest generation we've ever had on the planet. This is the worst generation we've ever had in mental fortitude. If you want to stand out and you want to be different from everything else that's happening in the world, choose to be mentally strong. And how you create mental strength is you choose it.
So just do it!
Hey, do you have ADHD? Do you have trouble functioning day to day, but you can't get medication because you lost your job and now you can't afford the payments? Have you ever tried not doing that? This is like the quintessential charlatan guru advice, where they tell their students a bunch of useless platitudes that sound nice, but when actually asked to give clear, actionable advice, suddenly they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And it's like even their platitudes are wrong 50% of the time, every time. I don't think this is the mentally weakest generation. Just like how I don't think millennials were the mentally weakest generation when everyone was clowning on them. Every generation has mentally strong and mentally weak people. It's just that as a generation that grew up in the midst of social media, the best and worst of us have been magnified to an insane degree, while the ones in the middle who don't really feel like airing out our concerns as much are just catching strays. And like I said before, we face very different challenges and circumstances from generations past. Gen Z is simultaneously the most connected and the most alone generation, where social media is a core feature of our lives, but has warped our perception of reality and made us lonelier for it. Gen Z was raised in a world where we were told if you get good grades, go to a good college, get a job, you can have a safe, secure middle-class lifestyle. And then we graduated into a world where the middle class is being actively gutted from the inside out. Gen Z is the most aware about mental health issues, and instead of stigmatizing those issues like other generations, we take an active approach to healing and therapy and are outspoken about these issues. But when we do, we're called mentally weak and ostracized by other generations for it. It's almost as if we're just trying to live our lives while being slowly crushed by a giant hydraulic press. You're so mentally weak. Why can't you just man up and take it? Sir, my nuts are literally being crushed right now. And again, I would argue that Gen Z is not mentally weak. We live in the toughest financial climate since the 1970s. We're strapped with student loan debt. We're stuck with stagnant wages, parents who need therapy but refuse to get it, and mostly dead coral reefs. Finding Nemo? More like Finding Nemo's corpse. And yet, despite all of that, we are still able to find happiness. We're able to find success. We're able to get through day by day and do our best to find our place in a world that is wildly different than the one we were promised as kids. And I wish that more people in my generation took pride in that, instead of putting out content like this.
My generation is about 40% of college athletes have transferred this year, almost half of college students are depressed, and over 90% of Gen Z have reported to be stressed and burnt out. All of this is because of one thing: accountability. None of these kids have any sort of accountability. Oh, I'm depressed. It must be a chemical imbalance. Oh, I'm not getting paid enough. It must be my employer.
Oh, pulling out statistics. Okay, cool. Two can play at that game. 75% of Gen Z workers hold accountability as one of the top priorities when joining any organization. 92% of Gen Z kids will join CSRs, otherwise known as corporate social responsibility programs, when available. We are literally the generation that pioneered cancel culture. You cannot complain that us holding people responsible for their actions is our most annoying trait, and then turn around and say that we lack any accountability. That don't make no sense. And to add to that, accountability is something that grows with self-awareness. And self-awareness is developed as you get older. Clearly, our frontal lobes are just getting developed. Like, give us some room to grow, Jesus. We're just growing up and figuring things out, just like the rest of you did. And it's not like we're not taking accountability for huge ass mistakes, like texting all my friends and family the military's top secret war plans. So I just got to this part of the script and I realized I did not put any transition to get to the next clip. So here's the next clip without context.
I hate living in this nonchalant-ass generation because if I could tell you that I loved you right now, I probably would. What do you mean I have to wait 30 minutes to reply to a text? What do you mean I have to act like I don't like you so that you like me and then something happens? Why do we have to act like we don't like people?
Hey doc, it hurts when I do this. Interesting. Have you tried not doing that?
What's going on? Why do we all have to pretend like we don't like each other? I'm so full of love, like I need to tell everybody that I love them. Why do we have to act so nonchalant?
Girl, if you're with someone that only responds when you play games, that person ain't for you. That person's for the streets. And it goes back to this central theme of this not being a Gen Z issue. This is just a young person issue. The high school bully trope where they're part of the quote unquote cool kids and they don't care about anything. Yeah, that's been played back for generations at this point. And on top of that, I don't even think it's true. It is fucking cool to care. When Timothée Chalamet won the SAG Awards, my reaction to his speech was, yes, yes. Oh wait, that was my reaction to his speech in Dune 2. But his SAG speech was a close second. So yeah, being chalant and actually caring is back in style, baby. And some would say it never really stopped. Everyone thought Timo's speech was baller because at the end of the day, we do care. We care a lot about caring, about ethics, about our place in a radically changing world. Even the people that I've mentioned here today care. They care enough about this generation to release a video telling us that we don't care enough. And we care enough to make a video back. So that's all to say, Gen Z does have a lot of problems. And I think perhaps more than any other generation, we are fully aware of them and we're working on them. Just allow us some grace. I mean, the youngest of us are still in middle school, and the oldest of us just got hit with the double whammy of COVID than Trump's session. And to the content creators who are shitting on their own generation for attention, come on, guys. We already got shit on by every other generation. We really don't need y'all's opinion on this. We hate ourselves enough. And one more thing. At least we're not Gen Alpha. Anyways, if you made it this far in the video, thank you so much for watching. You should all treat yourself to some extra caffeine today. And I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.